there's something that we have to cover first because it's hitting a little bit close to home. You know, it feels like a bit of a repeat considering the what we've been through on this channel. But you're not going to believe this. So you know this Hasan Piker guy? A congressman has sent a congressional letter to the leadership of Amazon and Twitch because Hasan is an evil anti-Semite. really reaching on up there in the world, you know? Really remarkable the power and influence that we streamers are given sometimes. To sound the alarm about the amplification of anti-Semitism on Twitch, Hasan Piker, who's described Orthodox Jews as inbred and a Jewish man as a bloodthirsty pig, you can really tell like how honest the letter and its intentions are with like, oh, he called a Jewish man a bloodthirsty pig. Okay. This would be like someone calls Donald Trump a rapist, and they're like, you know, he called an elderly philanthropist a rapist. This incivility will not be tolerated. Like, okay, give me some context, please. Richie Torres is one of the most hardcore Zionists in the Democratic Party. Yeah, he's a lunatic. He's a bloodthirsty fascist, at least in like this specific context. Context. I am writing to express alarm about the amplification of and by the way, this is why I like don't stream on Twitch, dude. Keep in mind, Jeff Bezos, the guy who owns Amazon and therefore Twitch, just blocked the endorsement of Kamala Harris from the Washington Post because he had done some behind the scenes wheeling and dealing with Donald Trump, who had either like cajoled or threatened him into withholding the endorsement. So like that's the environment here, you know? What service do you use to stream? I invented YouTube, and I use my site YouTube to stream. I'm writing to express alarm about the amplification of anti-Semitism on Twitch at the hands of Hasan Piker. Hasan, who is one of the largest political streamers with a following of 2.7 million. Since October 7th, there has been an explosion of Jew hatred on social media platforms. Not to like paint with a broad brush, but I think that anyone using the term Jew hatred, this immediately strikes to me as like Zionist, bloodthirsty horseshit. There's a term already. It's anti-Semitism. Is the term anti-Semitism not like alarmist enough? You have to like come up with a new one. Like obviously Jew hatred is like synonymous with anti-Semitism, but it's like the term anti-Semitism wasn't alarmist enough. So you had to come up with one that you could like kind of spit out as you say it, you know? Hasan Piker has emerged the poster child for the post-October 7th outbreak of anti-Semitism in America. Mr. Piker has demonized Orthodox Jews as inbred and dehumanized a Jewish man as a bloodthirsty pig dog. I can't click on these links. The association of Jews with pigs and bloodthirst is textbook anti-Semitism. Mr. Piker has all but exposed himself as an apologist for the sexual violence and savage rapes of October 7th. Quote, it doesn't matter if rape happened on October 7th, it doesn't change the dynamic for me. End quote, Mr. Piker declares before finally admitting that Palestinian resistance, his euphemism for terrorism, is not perfect. I actually know the context for this quote because he's saying whether or not Hamas committed rapes on October 7th, it doesn't change his overall moral assessment of Israel's culpability for what happened, which is a completely morally correct stance to take. Like you wouldn't be there's no moral argument where you would be like, I think that Palestinians have a right to resist and I oppose Israeli colonialism, and then someone tells you that Hamas did rapes and you're like, oh, never mind, I didn't realize sexual violence took place in the theater of war. My apologies, I'm actually pro-Israel now. Like that doesn't really happen. Mr. Piker has said he has, quote, no issue with Hezbollah. Oh, no. The world's most heavily armed terrorist organization in the world. Oh, we love a thoroughly proofwritten congressional email. The world's most heavily armed terrorist organization in the world, and has given the platform to a suspected terrorist from the Houthis. This was Luffy One Piece. The U.S. government has declared Hezbollah a foreign terrorist organization, in the case of the former, and the Houthis a specially designated global terrorist group. Platforming any of the terrorist organizations, as Piker has done, is beyond the pale. Piker has even gone as far as to incite violence, telling his followers to kill and murder people in the streets. I'm sure, man. And let the streets soak in their red capitalist blood. The incitement of violence merits scrutiny from federal law enforcement. I like how even in this dishonest email, he like only quotes parts of the like he doesn't have a full sentence here where Hasan incites violence. He just has, well, he said kill and he said murder and he said in the streets. He starts every stream like that. I believe it. I don't watch Hasan. I believe it. Outside the context of October 7th, Mr. Piker has even joked and mused about men date raping women on college campuses. Joked and mused about? What the f does that mean? Joked about, a joke at whose expense? I've made like a million rape jokes on stream, and like the theme of like every single one of them is like, you have to be so pathetic to be a rape. Like that's still a rape joke. You could, I mean, depending on how dishonest you wanted to be, you could twist everything to everything. What does that even mean? Maybe you should check the links that you can't click. Who cares, man? Dude, if Hasan says something bad, I see it on my feed. Like, because the same accounts post it. And they're like, look at this. This is unconscionable, you know? And then I listen to it and it's like, sometimes Hasan says stuff that's like decently bad. It's pretty normal, I guess, in the current political environment, and certainly not out of the pale for what political live streamers talk like. But yeah, it's a funny rhetorician. You are correct. Like this has largely been elevated by Ethan Klein and Destiny in terms of like disingenuously fronting anti-Semitism accusations as a way of settling a personal beef with Hasan. So it's not like they're referring to this clip. Okay, I'll look at one clip.
They were, at least Patrick Henry College is like doing one good thing, which is that like if you have these millionaire, billionaire, WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is like, in some respects, you know, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like taking these guys.
Literally just an edgy joke. The idea that this is an endorsement of date rape in any way, you would have to be, and I'm being real here, you would have to be genuinely frothing at the mouth insane to hear this and think this is an endorsement of date rape. It's literally just an edgy joke. There's no way to take this as an argument in favor of date rape.
And putting them in a pen with one another is ultimately getting them away from the broader society.
Yeah, no, you have to be incredibly dishonest to take that as a defense of date rape. How come he didn't make an inquiry about Andrew Tate, an actual anti-Semite? Or what about like Sneeko or Aiden Ross or whatever? You know, why is it that all of the hardcore Zionists, for some strange reason, whenever they get their panties in a twist over anti-Semitism, it's always leftists, and they never talk about like the open neo-Nazis that exist in the same space? Just crazy, you know? There's really no point in making arguments about charitability, because like if you dislike a person, everything's on the table with them, right? Like there are so many people out there who consider themselves, oh yeah, I'm like the ultimate edgelord. I'm easily able to discern. I can discern 57 different flavors of irony before you can even blink. I understand all of it. And then if someone they don't like makes an edgy joke, or even flubs an edgy joke a little bit, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. Everyone, look at this. Like it's a disingenuous, you know, rat race that I have no respect for. It's good to see our congressman engaging in it. When he's not joking and musing about rape, joking and musing about rape. What is that? Like, even the like verbiage, musing about rape. I hate reading Andrea Dworkin, you know, she's always musing about rape. Joking and musing. I mean, joking would be one thing and musing would be another, but joking and musing? Hasan Piker alternates between rape denial and rape apologia. He either denies the sexual violence of 10-7 or denies that it matters. Mr. Piker once described the sexual violence of 10-7 as rape fantasies and rape hallucination. I mean, I have seen like I fully think that Hamas did sexual assault and rape and so on and so forth. I assume that of like literally any armed conflict, especially when the armed conflict is targeted in a manner which is like indiscriminate to civilian well-being, right? Like, I'm sure that Ukrainian and Russian soldiers have both done some nasty stuff, but I think Russian soldiers like 100 times over, because they're totally cool with murking civilians and Ukrainian soldiers aren't. So it's like a multiplicative factor in the case of like Hamas and Russia and such by 1,000,000 times, but also with Israel, because Israel doesn't give a shit about civilian casualties. So, you know, it is absolutely true though that there is like a subsection of Zionists where they are like screaming insane, frothing at the mouth bullshit. Even if the stuff they're saying is true, the lurid, obsessive, borderline pornographic way they talk about October 7th is genuinely disgusting. Like, I'm really sorry, there's nothing you can do about the fact that October 7th claimed the lives of like 1/30th minimum the number of people Israel's killed in Gaza. Like, you can't, I'm sorry, you can describe it in as pornographic of terms as you like. You're not overcoming the numbers on that one. You're not, like, none of this is being done in a neutral environment. Nobody's like screaming and drooling and freaking out over October 7th at this point, right now, over a year afterwards, in like a neutral context. They're always doing it to justify the treatment of Hezbollah, or, Palestinians or whatever, like the incursion into Lebanon or the indiscriminate bombing or the starvation of North Gaza. Like, none of it's done like for its own sake, It's not a humanitarian exercise. Despite his disdain for and dismissiveness towards Jewish victims of rape in Israel, Mr. Piker remains one of the most popular political influencers of. By the way, keep in mind, I'm getting bored of reading the letter as well. Just keep in mind that, like, even with the most uncharitable assessments you can make of Hasan Piker's statements, pale in comparison to the normalized State Department approved statements that Zionists make about Palestinians. Like, they had a January 6th to free soldiers who were mass raping Palestinian detainees. Like, the State Department, like, the approved at every level of society line with regards to Israel's treatment of Palestinians is to deny that they hold hostages, to deny the rape of the Palestinian prisoners, to deny the mass starvations. Their government calls Palestinians, animals and subhumans. They openly, defy U.S. recommendations for a two-state solution or for Gaza resettlement by Palestinians by preparing for its occupation by Israelis. Like, there is nothing you can say about Hasan Piker, even the uncharitable interpretations of stuff that he said in jest or while being edgy, that even comes close to the normal thing Zionists say, the accepted thing Zionists say. And then we have some 9/11 fear-mongering where we say that, speaking of siding with terrorists, Mr. Piker has glorified the brave mujahideen for wounding U.S. Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Richie Torres, we are 5 days out from potentially a fascist regime taking hold in our government, and Richie Torres is, I guess, 7 days ago, or 7 days from the election. The best way he chooses to spend his time is, does he have AIPAC? I don't know how much AIPAC actually backs his campaign. He is a disgusting, vile piece of shit, though. He might be doing this for the sport of it. Yes? Okay, yeah, like his handlers, they have him go after Hasan Piker. After all, why would AIPAC give a about fascists taking over? That's just like, Israel is, of all the countries in the world, I think the most pro-Trump one. Like, Israel has more Trump supporters than Serbia. It's insane. It's genuinely insane. He takes some of the most. Jesus, dude. That's great, man. Just like for like relatively small amounts of money too. Like 1 million for a US congressman. I don't know. And it's like, yeah, whatever. Agent of capital, agent of fascism. Assuming Hasan doesn't get like permit for this or whatever, he should wear it as a badge of honor, There's functionally no difference between this and like open neo-Nazis going after Hasan, which of course they have in the past. Like, ideologically, the only difference between AIPAC and open neo-Nazis is that one of them has language that's been laundered by the Department of State, and one of them actually got their ethno-state and is currently engaging in their own Holocaust. Like, basically unchallenged. Does AIPAC have a bottomless pit of money? Yeah, because they're literally just the conservative super PAC. Like, AIPAC gets money from anyone and everyone as long as they hate democracy, freedom, and liberty and everything good. As long as they hate rainbow and sunshine and so on and so forth. It's not like it's just Jews donating to AIPAC. Not even close. Military-industrial complex, conservatives, blah-de-blah-de-blah. What's up with his hairline? Evil rots you. Gives you a lopsided hairline. Didn't even see that. Anyway, this has gotten a lot of attention. Obviously, exclusively like right-wing and Zionist rags have picked up on this because it is a right-wing and Zionist like attack. It's not like in any way, shape, or form motivated by a genuine concern about anti-Semitism, because nobody actually thinks that Hasan Piker is an anti-Semite. Jewish Insider. It's an old photo of him from 2017. Okay, most schizoid conspiracy theory about to drop. They used a 7-year-old photo of him because they thought this shirt looked close enough to the keffiyeh that it would fool the average reader of Jewish Insider. Is that real? Is that true? Probably not. Are there probably like 1 million photos of Hasan with a keffiyeh, like normally, that like the actual scarf? Probably. I don't actually know. But is it spiritually true? Do I believe this? Yes. In spite of all evidence. Yes, I believe it. Anyway, we got a response to all of this from Twitch. Fact check by real American patriots. Thank you. Hate and harassment have no place on Twitch. To the Twitch community, over the past few weeks, we've seen members of the community voice concerns about how we've handled potentially harmful content. There is no place on Twitch for racism, hatred, or harassment of any kind, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Okay. As our community has grown, we've endeavored to build community guidelines to prohibit these harms. Twitch is and always will be about belonging. Every day, people come together on our service to build communities about shared interests and to express themselves authentically. For this to be possible, we work hard to ensure that our community is a safe place. Our community guidelines are foundational, and when we find content that breaks those rules, we take immediate enforcement action. This will always be the case. Millions of streamers with a wide variety of views and perspectives spend time on Twitch. We recognize that some content, while allowed in our service, may be objectionable to some members of our community. The views shared by streamers on Twitch are not the views of Twitch, nor are they my personal views. We're grateful for the feedback and input from our community. Our safe approach continues to build and evolve, and our service grows. We want to ensure that anyone can find their place in Twitch and remain committed to ensuring that hate and harassment have no place here. So, no statement at all. But they're not completely bowing to it, which is nice, I suppose. There are still like month-long bans that were handed out to Arab streamers who were doing that. Are you kebab or not kebab? I'm sorry, I forget what the panel was. I hope that wasn't racist. Kebab yes, kebab no panel that they did at TwitchCon like a month and a half ago. Habibi? Okay, sure. That's another word that I know. Can you say Habibi? I can say Habibi. It's weird that Asmongold got only 14 days for doing something arguably worse. I mean, Twitch doesn't want to ban their mega streamers, of course. If Asmongold got permabanned, he would just move over to Kick, and he would do very well on Kick because of the types of content that he does. So, you know, I understand their hesitancy there. I guess I'm glad that Hasan didn't get banned because it would represent like the kowtowing to fascism of the like platform at large, which, you know, would be undesirable. Yeah, I remember Dick Thulu. But if he got banned, he would just stream on YouTube and Twitch would lose income. I'm not sure what you mean. Though look at the link and sub if you can. Apparently the changes will also give advertisers the option to not show ads for political live streamers. Isn't that good? That seems like a pretty reasonable alteration, right? It feels targeted. Sure, but like I can understand. This is an issue we've been having with advertisers for a really long time. Like, yeah, YouTube did this a while ago, which is basically like, you know, Twitch started out as a space for people to play like, I don't know, Ocarina of Time, you know, speed runs. And like people initially when they streamed, they barely had webcams. I mean, people were just like, lost time on that backflip. And then now we have people talking about like we have people like showing, you know, war footage. There's been a pretty big change in what kind of content is presented on Twitch. YouTube had the same issue. Like, how do you determine bathtub streams? How do you determine like advertiser viability? I can understand there being fewer advertisers willing to put out for politics content. It'll assuage some concerns. Yeah, but YouTube did it horribly. Yeah. Vosh, who doesn't advertise on Twitch, that's fair. Yeah, but I'm on YouTube, and YouTube has a version of this. I'm saying, like, it is better. Trust me, it's better to do this than to go in the other direction and have, like, a lot of really easy ammunition to use against politics streamers because there are advertisers from, like, every, you know, for every walk of life that don't want their shit to be associated with like Hasan or whatever, so they just ban Hasan because he's not getting them ad revenue anyway. It could always be worse. Meta straight up deprioritizes political content in their algo. I mean, this is part of the reason why I say that one of the most effective ways to reach people where they're at when it comes to convincing people of your political views is not to have a politics channel, but rather to do other like, you know, interest, media, hobby, whatever stuff, and talk about politics like as it's appropriate in the context of that, you know? It's pretty easy, right? Like there are a bunch of I don't watch that many streamers, but the two Canadian streamers who I do watch, Joseph Anderson and Northern Lion, both have extremely unambiguously left-leaning communities, despite neither of them talking about politics like at all. It's really, really, really obvious what their communities are. Even though they don't talk politics. And that's because it's pretty easy to signal politics. You can tell whether or not a person's conservative or progressive pretty quickly in a lot of cases without needing to ask them their position on every issue, you know? It's not necessarily difficult. Germa too, yeah. I remember Joseph Anderson banning ACAB on a server as hate speech. You gotta understand, Joseph Anderson ain't a politics guy, okay? ACAB is like a edgy college student, you know, progressive thing. He's a griller, you know, but it doesn't change the like disposition of the community. This is what I mean about like messaging claps, where progressives have an issue with it, like progressives need every community space they're into to be so unambiguously, so like hegemonically leftist that all of them become the same community space. You know what I mean? Like there's you need to accept the diversity in spaces, like where sometimes you will have like a progressive space, but the people running that space aren't literal communists, you know? Like I've seen so many clips from like so many different streamers to the effect of like, oh, I don't have a problem with capitalism, which is like a normal ass statement for a normal person to make, and people in chat unironically getting mad at them, even though the chat is like filled with queer people or whatever. It's like, you have to understand, like, not every left-leaning space is going to be as far. It's still a dumb statement. Okay, but this is what I mean. Like, that the person who says that isn't then going to want people popping up in chat to debate them on it. Like, that's not, like, you can do that here, but I'm me, you know? It's shit, like, you have to accept people at their varying levels of normiedom, you know? But if it was just like a video game streamer who's like normally super accepting and progressive or whatever, and then like, oh yeah, I don't have an issue with like cops or whatever. I don't know. I call the police when there's like sometimes like a scary guy outside, and they come over and they say, you know, we can't do anything, and then they leave. And then people in chat will be like, you called the police on a person outside your house at 2 a.m.? That could have been a homeless person in need. They could have been having a fugue state. You could have had them shot. How would you have felt if they had gotten shot? It would have been like you shot them. And then it's like, holy, not every progressive person in society has adopted the positions of like the 19-year-old queer college students who, you know, go online rather than doing their homework. It's you have to accept people where they are, you know? I'm not saying I even disagree with the statement, by the way. I think it's fair to criticize that, like, in the appropriate environment. I'm just saying, like, you're not gonna do much good there. Nationalize the baloney industry, thoughts?